So the Pope is coming to the United States, and as the Catholic American, very excited about that. I still remember when John Paul came. God love him. He's a saint. Even bless my dog. Loved the guy. Loved this Francis guy too, and I was really excited to see that the Wall Street Journal devoted an entire section to his visit. So here is the section of the Wall Street Journal, and of course I was really interested in reading it. Really like the Wall Street Journal. It's not like the New York Times where you've got, you know, these Ivy League educated people. They're like, oh, I'll do the thinking for you and then, you know, tell you what to think. You know, they force you to drink the Kool-Aid, where the Wall Street Journal, it's more like, you know, they give you puzzles. It's like a puzzle. They give you the pieces, and then you can kind of put it together. And it's like you're a horse, and they guide you to the river, but you've got to choose to drink. So anyway, these two articles, one about business and a papal pushback that's against capitalism. You can see here he is a progressive on a pilgrimage here. And then the other is where he meets politics on Capitol Hill. So this first article about the papal pushback, it's talking with corporate leaders because the Pope is against capitalism, and they call it a broad brush attack. And, you know, I didn't realize how his speech was, they call it barbed rhetoric. And yeah, I can see that, barbed. And it's just talking about how a lot of people take issue with his message and style. James Lucier, he's the director at a research firm, Kappa Alpha Partners in DC. He says the substance of what the Pope says may apply to his native Argentina and elsewhere in the developing world. But it suggests a complete misapprehension of American capitalism and market economies in general. I practically had a minor in economics. I was like half a class short, but I'm not sure what misapprehension means, but yeah, I agree. And it's become a hallmark of his papacy, they say. Now, it says just months after his election in 2013. Now, this is what I'm talking about, but they don't say it. You know, they don't spell it out, but you can read. Just months after his election. He didn't even wait years. It was months. He railed against a new idolatry of money. Because apparently nobody's ever liked money until now, and now we idolize it. Okay, so he says, today everything comes under the laws of competition and the survival of the fittest, where the powerful feed upon the powerless. As a consequence, masses of people find themselves excluded and marginalized, without work, without possibilities, without any means of escape. I think competition and survival of the fittest is Darwin. Maybe, I'm not sure. Well, facts aren't important here. Anyway, I think that's always been the case. But, so, it's really kicked up some controversy, it says, and again, they say the Pope has hardly let up. Like, get the message. Just in June, he lamented, it's like sad, like wine, whatever. Whatever is fragile, like the environment, the earth, it's been here for 1 billion years, it's fragile, okay, whatever, is defenseless before the interests of the deified market. Ooh, the big bag market. He said job creation can't be left in the hands of a few. And to illustrate this point, they go on to cite a spokesman for the New York Archdiocese, apparently one of the few. This donor cited such comments by the Pope, and they keep saying, like off the cuff, They described him in like every article they talk about is off the cuff. So I'm assuming it's these off the cuff comments. Well, anyway, this rich person decided against giving a 7-figure donation towards the restoration of St. Patrick's Cathedral. They declined to name the person, but rich people like their privacy. So yeah, it's hurting the church, I think. So getting further along in this article, it just really opened my eyes to, marginalized and unseen some people that are suffering. So, the Samuel Gregg is a research director at the Acton Institute. It's a free market, love free markets, think tank in Michigan. I always think of think tanks like fish tanks, like there's just people around there sitting, thinking. I don't know what it's like. Anyway, so this is what he says, and he really has a good point. He, meaning Francis, doesn't seem to want to concede the sheer number of people who have escaped from poverty as a consequence of opening up the global markets and the activities of business. And this is like the sad part, is he says he knows a lot of Catholic businessmen, like not just one or two, a lot. Well, he doesn't say about any businesswomen, but just businessmen. So I don't know. I guess there's not very many. Maybe he just doesn't know any. Anyway, he says he knows a lot that are demoralized when they hear the Pope talk about the daily reality in which they live. Okay, yes, these people aren't sick or hungry or homeless, but they're demoralized, and that's not right. I mean, you can't just judge by looks alone. I mean, yes, they drive their fancy car and have the corner office, but these are men, not just men, businessmen, and they're demoralized, and that's not okay. So we get to where the Pope meets politics. Apparently nobody's filled in Francis that this is not the Kennedy administration and the Vatican is not calling the shots. He has issued blunt warnings of the dangers posed by climate change. He's critiqued consumerism and the market economy. Welcoming tone towards gay Catholics. It's just left Republicans wary about what he might say, obviously. The Democrats have enthusiastically welcomed their unexpected ally. Although they face their own disagreements, but they've been trying to play those down. But few are expected to stand up to him, even in the wake of his contentious encyclical on the environment. And he faulted the global market with preoccupation with financial gain and is plundering the earth. It was a 183-page document, and it said human activity has contributed to global warming. Human activity, really? It makes sense, but James Inhofe, he is a prominent skeptic of global warming, and these are the exact words, not just a skeptic, but he's very prominent among skeptics of global warmings. And he says, I'm a Jesus guy, but I don't agree with the Pope. He said, it's the whole extreme liberal agenda, and just because he's the Pope doesn't mean that it's any more gospel than it would be otherwise. And that makes sense. But, this guy is the chairman of the Senate Environment Committee. I think he would know if human activity was contributing to global warming. So anyway, Representative Paul Gassar from Arizona, this guy don't care if he's a Pope or not, even though he is a Catholic. Don't get excommunicated. Anyway, he said he would boycott the Pope's speech to protest not the focus, but a potential focus. Just boycott it just to be on the safe side. But he boycotted on the potential focus on climate change. And he says, when the Pope chooses to act and talk like a leftist politician, then he can be expected to be treated like one. I mean, you should see that coming. Okay, so here you can see an article. This is about the changing face of Catholicism. Basically, in summary, right here, it's Hispanics, which, if you know anything about the Pope, he himself is Hispanic. He's from Argentina, and his name is Jorge. So Francis, yeah, he's not really French or Italian. He's Hispanic. And if you look here, they've got his timeline. He is coming from Cuba. I mean, aren't we trying to stop immigration from Cuba? I'm sorry, I believe it's Cuba. But it seems to me, why are we spending billions of dollars to put up a wall with Mexico? Because that's not okay for people crammed into semis in 140-degree heat like they're going on a train to Auschwitz. Those people, that's not allowed. We're going to block that. But, you know, build a little dinghy and go to Key West, that's okay. No. If Ronald Reagan was alive today, he would say to his good friend, Donald Trump, he would say, put up that wall, Mr. Trump. And he would be meaning, you know, around Key West. I mean, why go to 3,000 miles, you know, with Mexico when they're all coming from Cuba? This Pope, Jorge, he might even stay here. I mean, obviously you've seen that the church is hurting for donations. This guy might just stay here. He might just wire money to the people back in the Vatican to come over here, and then we've got an immigration crisis like Europe does. But our refugee crisis would be Europe's benefit, because then Vatican City would be emptied out. It would be kind of ironic, but Europe could put the Muslim refugees there. At least it's walled. Talk about irony of ironies. I don't know. I'm just really... it's just leaving a bad taste in my mouth. And not the bad taste like when you get a stale communion piece of Christ. Communion, like a bad, like Baptist wine, bad. I don't know. We'll see. Fingers crossed.